What's up? Welcome. What's up? How's it going? Welcome to another episode of the Hawks Hoops podcast. I am, of course, your host, Hawk. If you're new right here, welcome to the Hawks Hoops podcast. This is a weekly podcast, comes out every Tuesday. We talk about the NBA and occasionally other things. There's sometimes, I think more in the off season, we're going to talk a little bit more about maybe basketball as a whole. I don't know why I just said that, but for the most part, yes, this is an NBA podcast. We are available wherever podcasts are found: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Anchor, Spotify. You can watch the video on YouTube as well if you like and just want to see my face talk for about 30 minutes. But thanks for pulling up. We're going to get right into it. It's a lot of injuries that happened recently, and I'm not okay with that. I want to talk about the Lakers injuries, LeBron's injury going down with a high ankle sprain the other day. It's been announced that he's out indefinitely. They didn't really put a date on it, which to me means, knowing LeBron and knowing how he can sometimes operate, he's just going to be out as much as possible without the Lakers slipping too much, especially with Anthony Davis still being out. He's been out for the past couple of weeks already. He's probably still going to be out for a couple more weeks. So without LeBron and Anthony Davis, it's really going to be interesting to see how much the Lakers can win without them. They're currently third in the West. They're sitting at 28-15. Kyle Kuzma's definitely going to get leaned on a lot to try to become more of a scoring option for them, which in my opinion is going to be great for his growth. They'll probably still end up losing some games. But in terms of the growth of Kyle Kuzma, I think honestly this is going to be great for him, so that when LeBron and Anthony Davis do come back, Kuzma has a whole lot more confidence now on the court with him, and it could just make them that much more of a formidable opponent. Do I think the Lakers will slide a little bit? Yeah, they're definitely going to probably end up losing some more games than they win while their teammates are out, because the West is close. There's a lot of teams right on their heels. The Clippers are only a game behind them. The Nuggets are about a game and a half behind them, as well as the Trailblazers. Like I said, they're third in the East. They're going to slide a little bit. I don't see them sliding out of playoff contention by any means. I thankfully think that team is more than just LeBron and Anthony Davis. Yes, that's a lot of their team. That is why they win a championship, those two. But they can definitely snag some wins against some lesser teams in their lineup and the NBA. I want to continue. I've avoided this for a while. We're going to get back to some of the other injuries. I'm going to talk about LaMelo Ball later in the day. Later in this episode. I know some people wanted me to touch on that, so I'm definitely going to talk about that. But we got to talk some Sixers talk. Y'all know I'm a Sixers fan. If you know me, you know I'm a Sixers fan. And I've been doing good, in my opinion. I haven't really gone on a crazy Sixers rant in a while. But I'm just going to do a little rant. It's not going to be long. I just got a couple of things, just a little bit of praise for my Sixers. With Joel Embiid being out, first off, let me rephrase. With, what was they call him on Twitter? Joel MV Bead, something like that. Anyway, Joel Embiid was having an MVP season. We all saw it. He was absolutely unstoppable on the court, doing whatever he wanted. He seemed to had finally taken this next level in his play and his athleticism, or should I more say his conditioning. He looked healthy on the court. He looked in shape. And when he looks in shape, he looks unstoppable. Joel Embiid was having this type of season where I wouldn't have been surprised if he won MVP and Defensive Player of the Year in the same year. He was having that great of a season. So he goes down with the bone bruise in his knee. There's not really a concrete timeline for his return. He's still going to be out for a couple more weeks. But the Sixers are still doing okay without him. The team is currently 5-1 since his injury. That's including the game against the Wizards that he got injured in. And the team that beat them was a really, really, really close game against the Milwaukee Bucks, a game which, if you watch the game, was absolutely ugly. We held them to about 30-something points in the first half, then they scored like 20-something in the third, and we don't score them. It was just a really, really ugly game. But this Sixers team is giving me hope because they're still beating teams they should beat without Joel Embiid on the floor. And I think a lot of that has to come down to Tobias Harrison. That's who I kind of want to focus on for this little bit segment right here and give him some of his flowers. Tobias Harris he's finally looking like he's worth his contract. I don't really know a better way to say that, a nicer way to say that. I was trying to beat around the bush a little bit, but he finally looks like he's worthy of his contract. He's worthy of the money that the Sixers decided to pay him for a little bit there, especially in the beginning of this season. And even when they gave him that contract, I know a lot of Sixers fans were like, what in the world are we thinking here? Why did we do this? We didn't necessarily see that in him. And he's proving to be a closer for us even before Joel Embiid's injury, just this season as a whole, especially he's probably after like that first month of the season, he's really gotten to his stride. And I thought he was going to be an all-star. I wouldn't have been surprised if the Sixers had 3 all-stars. Like, that's how good I think he had been playing this season. He's proven to be a closer for the Sixers. And it might be because I didn't really pay Tobias Harrison much attention before he became a Sixer, but I feel like this season in particular, he's really showing off some really, really solid post game. That high post, mid post area, especially when Joel's not on the floor, he gets a smaller defender on him. He really can go to work down low and overpower him. Has a good fadeaway over both shoulders. Really likes that baseline fadeaway though. And I just, I'm feeling good about the Sixers. And I'm going to go a little bit in here as a little aside. Shout out to my boy Dwight Howard. He has been playing great for the Sixers. He just has a lot of energy. He's really, I think his time with the Lakers proved to the NBA that he's willing to accept the role that I think a lot of GMs were trying to put him in maybe like 5 years ago that he wasn't ready to accept yet. That guy who can come off the bench, who's always going to have a lot of energy on the bench, cheering on teammates, still block a couple shots, still catch him alley-oops, and still rebound and defend the rim well. I have no complaints about Dwight Howard on the Sixers. Granted, he's one of my favorite NBA players, but I still have no complaints about Dwight Howard on the 76ers. So let's get into the meat and the potatoes of today's episode. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think today's episode is going to be as long as some of my previous episodes because it's a little later than I'm normally recording and I'm a little tired. But let's get into the meat and potatoes of today's episode. And that's some MVP talk. Now, like I said earlier, if you asked me, before Joel went down, I would have lost my mind if he didn't win MVP. There was no doubt in my mind Joel Embiid was MVP before he got injured. And low key, there was almost no doubt in my mind he was Defensive Player of the Year before he got injured. And then he goes down. And then LeBron goes down. And LeBron was probably top 3 in a lot of people's. I don't think he would have been right after Joel and most people's MVP ranking, but I think he would have been top 3. He would have been the 3rd. So I want to talk about who do I have in mind for MVP now that Joel Embiid and LeBron James are likely out of the picture. I don't see them giving it to either of them, especially because they're probably going to end up missing too much time for the voters to qualify them for MVP. So let's talk about Nicole Yokic first. I think he's currently the front runner for the MVP award. Center for the Nuggets, currently averaging 27 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. And as crazy as those numbers sound, it almost sounds crazy for me to say, but the first thing that comes to mind is he's having a Jokic season. This is the type of player that Jokic is. He's proven a little bit more that he could be a go-to scorer for the Nuggets. I think in the last couple of seasons, he's proven that he can be a 20 to 25 point scorer, but I'm liking to see him around that 27 points per game mark. The higher he can get, the closer he can get to 30, I think the more that solidifies the Nuggets as the legit contender and having someone who they can give the ball to and say, get us a bucket. And Nikola Jokic is proven to be that type of player. It's a little different because he's a center, but similar to Joel Embiid he can score on the block. He can shoot the 3 ball amazingly. He can pretty much score wherever he wants to on the court, and he's proving that. And then those 6 assists are just absolutely beautiful from him because he is just proving that he has amazing vision from the post. That's why I looked over to my right if you're watching this. I said 6 assists. Pardon me. He's actually averaging 8.6 assists. That's where I got that 6 from because I knew that was way too low. So he's almost averaging a triple-double. So he's definitely probably the front runner for MVP. He throws some of the beautifulest passes in basketball right now. I love Jokic. I wish he was a little bit better defensively. He's getting there, but he's still not amazing. But I think his offensive game more than makes up for him. And the Nuggets do a good job of putting defenders around him. Nuggets are currently 25-17. They're the 5th seed in the West. So that's not necessarily great. But I'm going to touch on that in a second. Got to keep in mind that the West is really, really, really close. So technically, yes, he's the 5th seed, but if they win like 2-3 games, next thing you know, they're the 3rd seed. So it's really tight in the West right now between about the 3rd and 7-8 seed. The second person I want to talk about, and like I said, Nicole Yokic is probably the front runner in most people's books. But the person who I want to talk about, the person who I, knowing the facts that Joel Embiid and LeBron James are probably out of the picture, the person who I would give MVP to if the season ended right now, Damien Lillard, hands down. No question. To me, Damien Lillard's having an MVP season. You got to think about what Damien Lillard's been through this season. Him and CJ are having a beautiful season to start the season. I got them both in my fantasy, so that's why I know how great of a season they were having. You look up Dame dropping 28, CJ dropping 26, Dame drops 30, CJ dropping 30. Like, they're feeding off of each other, torching defenses at the start of the season. Then CJ goes down. And Nurkic, who they thought they were going to get back, Yusuf Nurkic, their center, who they thought they were going to get back going into the season, re-injured himself. So he's not even in the season. So Dame's down to arguably 2 of his best teammates to continue the season. A lot of people thought the Blazers were going to fall out of the playoff picture, and it was pretty much going to be done for them. But they haven't fallen out of the playoff picture. Dame is currently averaging 30 points, 4.5 rebounds, and is leading. He's torching the league in clutch moments. If you're not familiar with what clutch moments are in the NBA in terms of the clutch statistic, it's when a team, it's a 5-point game and under 5 minutes. So in those clutch moments, he's leading, I believe, and he's either leading or I'll be on the safe side and say top 3. And points and field goal percentage and threes and a 3-point percentage and clutch moments. Dame is getting buckets in the clutch to win games for his team. And that's the only reason. That is the only reason the Blazers are currently 25-17. Now, let's not get it twisted. It is a team game. His teammates have stepped up. But no one stepped up as much as Dame has for the Portland Trail Blazers. Like I said, they're 25-17, currently the 6th seed. The Nuggets are also 25-17, but they have that the game tie, or they have the tiebreaker over the Blazers, so that's why they're the 5th seed, and that's why the Blazers are the 6th seed. Now you might be thinking, Aaron, there's no way in the world they're giving a 6th seed team the MVP. But the media loves a storyline. I already just broke down the storyline for you. Dame's 2 best teammates were injured most of the season. CJ just came back like a week ago. He's only played a couple of games. He's getting a little bit better, but he just came back, and Dame kept them afloat. Dame kept them afloat. CJ comes back. That maybe they win a couple of games and start moving up in the standings. The Lakers slide a little bit. Next thing you know, Portland's what, the 4th seed? I can see them getting it to a 4th seed. They did it for Russell Westbrook when he had his triple-double season after, his first triple-double season after KD left. They were the 4th seed. They gave him the MVP because he put his team on his back, and a team who everybody thought was down and out, he put on his back and got him to the playoffs. And that's what Dame's doing this season. A team that going into the season, no one thought they were down and out. Let me be clear. Everyone, I think, at least in my opinion, had pretty good expectations for the Blazers going into the season. But once the injuries happened, it was whatever. But Dame didn't give up. So the media loves a good storyline. The MVP award is almost always run by storylines, but they do like the award winning. So the Blazers do have to win a couple more games, hopefully. And it'd be great for them if the Lakers slide a little bit. I don't know how else to say it, but hey, opportunity. I'll play who's in front of you. If the Lakers start losing some games, Portland Trail Blazers start winning some games, they end up 3rd. They end up 4th seed, maybe even the 5th seed. They would probably have to get a better record than the Nuggets for Dame to pull it off. But even still, Dame is having an amazing season. But like I said earlier, keep in mind that the seeding, I'm calling them that seed, is really just because the West is uber competitive. They're so competitive in the West. The Blazers and the Nuggets would both be 4 seeds in the East. And that just should give you some, they would go from a 6 seed to a 4 seed if they're on the Eastern Conference. So that should just give you some insight on how competitive the Western Conference is. And then the third, who I would have to say if I had to pick a third for the MVP race right now, because I'm giving you my top 3, it'd be Giannis Antetokounmpo. Currently averaging 29 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. The Bucks are currently 27-14. They're the 3rd seed in the East. And I wouldn't be surprised if they slide up to the 2nd seed, mainly because of the Sixers probably sliding down, losing some games, depending on how long Joel Embiid's out with his injury. But the Bucks honestly could end up anywhere from staying the third seed, or I wouldn't be surprised if they slide up to the first seed. With the Sixers sliding down, could lose in some games. The Nets could also slide. They're only 2 games ahead of the Bucks, and that's only 2 games ahead of the Bucks in the standings. And with the Nets' big 3, I'll say, has the tendency to not play games. I don't know how a better way to say it. KD's been out since February with some injury. He'll probably not come back till probably right before the playoffs, to be completely honest with you. They were like, why play him? We don't need to. We can still make the playoffs with the team we have. They made it to playoffs with just James Harden and their team and the rest. Like, that's pretty much who they can make the playoffs with in the East. Kyrie is an excellent player. I have him on my fantasy as well. But he also just announced he's not playing this week. He didn't travel for the Nets with their road trip, because of he's taking care of some family matters. And I say the Nets players don't like to play because this is the second time Kyrie's done that this season. I definitely understand that you got to take care of family, take your PTO. Every job has PTO, vacation time, all that in the third. So use it or you lose it. But that being said, it's not impossible for them to slide down and lose some games just because their superstars don't play every night, I'll say. Giannis is, on the tear. He's being Giannis, putting up Giannis numbers. He's the type of player that's going to play every night. And if somehow the Bucks end up the first or second seed, a three-peat MVP wouldn't be out of the realm of possibilities. I don't see the media necessarily giving it to him simply because the storyline isn't as appealing. Hey, you win get three-peat MVP and you ain't even made the championship once, and out of these 3, and the last 2 times they gave the MVP, they might not be as likely to give it to you the third time. So, personally, like I said a couple of times, Damien Lillard is my MVP. I said we were going to talk about the LaMelo Ball's injury, so let's talk about it. LaMelo Ball fractures his wrist right near his thumb. I can't remember if it was a shooting hand or not, but they basically ruled him out for the rest of the season, and so that comes into the question, what do we do with the Rookie of the Year trophy? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, if you ask me, we can end the season. Not even right now. The season can continue. I'm still giving the Rookie of the Year to LaMelo Ball. And here's why. LaMelo Ball came into the season with a lot of expectations. He came into a team. He came into the league with a lot of expectations, mainly because his dad, the fact that his brother plays in the league, the fact that he's a ball brother. They just come into the league with a lot of expectations. Shout out to LeVar. He knows how to market his sons. But the team that drafted him, the Charlotte Hornets, already had some expectations because they built a team there. They had some faith in Terry Rozier. They signed Gordon Hayward. They had plans on making the playoffs this year. They're currently the 8th seed, and they might slide out of that without him. I'm very curious to keep my eye on them to see how they do without LaMelo Ball. He wasn't everything to that team, but he was a crucial part of that team's wins. He was really involved in their offense. His way he saw the floor, his scoring, getting other players involved was really crucial to a winning team. And now, on the other side of the I guess I'll say the NBA, we have Anthony Edwards, another rookie who's been playing great the last couple of months, ever since the Timberwolves changed coaches and hired the former assistant coach for the Toronto Raptors. I talked about this, I believe, in the first episode of Hawks Hoops. And ever since that coaching change, Anthony Edwards has been flourishing. He's been involved a whole lot more in the offense, and his numbers are a lot better. So if you actually look at their numbers, what they're quote unquote averaging for the season, they're very identical. They're very similar. LaMelo's averaging 15 points, I'll say 16 points, 15.9, 6 rebounds and 6 assists, while Anthony Edwards is averaging 17 points, 4 rebounds, and about 3 assists. Anthony Edwards' field goal percentage is not that great. 38% from the field, 31% from 3. LaMelo's is a little better, 45% from field, 37% from 3. 37% from 3 is absolutely great, and at 45% from the field is really solid as well. So LaMelo was really playing well and playing efficient. Anthony Edwards has been playing well as of late and playing a little bit more efficient as of late, especially his last couple of games. And a lot of the hype's probably going to go to him. And unfortunately, because of injury, he's probably going to be a shoe-in for it. But the Timberwolves are still bad. The Timberwolves are absolutely horrible. The Timberwolves, I believe, are currently 10-32. The Rockets, I'm going to give you an example. The Rockets have lost 20 straight games and still have a better record than the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Rockets, I'll repeat, have lost 20 straight games, still won more games than the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, granted, all this isn't Anthony Edwards' fault. I don't want you to think this is me bashing Anthony Edwards. By no means is this me bashing Anthony Edwards. I think he'll have a great career in the league. I truly do. And a lot of it isn't really his fault. They just had a really bad coach to start the season. That being said, and they had a lot of injury issues as well. Let's keep it a buck. They had a lot of players who, D'Lo suffered with some injuries. Karl-Anthony Towns suffered with some injuries. So they just had a bad year. It just really bums me out that someone who is having a great rookie season, and at the end of the day, does rookie of the year really matter in terms of your legacy of you know, how people remember you? No, not really. It truly doesn't. It's just something to talk about right now. So our rookie year doesn't quote unquote matter. I think it matters to the player and their rookie season. And I'm sure it sucks for LaMelo to go out and have his season end the way it did. But if you ask me, I'm giving LaMelo Ball the rookie of the year. Even if we, you know, continue the season as is. Unless Anthony Edwards really blossoms and goes crazy towards the end of this season, I really like LaMelo Ball, and I would love to give it to him. Couple of things before we get on up out of here. Congratulations to Chris Paul for passing the 10,000 assist mark. We already know if you've watched any of these episodes out, Chris Paul comes up almost every episode, and this is only episode 4 or 5. He's come up in at least 3 of them. Chris Paul is my favorite point guard of all time. To me, do I want to say this right here, right now? I'll say it. Chris Paul is the greatest point guard of all time, in my opinion. Even if he doesn't win a ring, he's the greatest point guard of all time, in my opinion. So congratulations to him. Give him his flowers while he's here to smell them, as the kids say. And I just want to give a shout out to Russell Westbrook. The media hates him. The media has hated Russell Westbrook for a long time. Even when dating back to when Kevin Durant was still on the team, and to an extent, even when James Harden was still on the team, the media's always had something negative to say about Russell Westbrook, about his play style, about his decision making on the court. Even myself, you probably can go back and find some videos where I'll say frustrated with Russell Westbrook's decision making in the late games. But his teammates always have great stuff to say about him. I was just listening to Old Man in the Three, JJ Redick's podcast. They were interviewing Steven Adams. He had nothing but great things to say about Russ. A clip was going viral this past week of Rui Hachimura, rookie on the Washington Wizards. Got the ball in the block, tried to do a post move, drive baseline. Ball got swatted out of his hands, out of bounds on him. Camera cuts to Russ, talking him through that play, be like, hey, do this instead, protect the ball, yada, yada, yada. The very next play, he does basically the same play, right on the block again, does a move, tries to go baseline, does what Russ told him to do. He gets the foul and the ball doesn't get stripped. So it just goes to show Russ is a good player. He's a player's player, in my opinion. Media doesn't like him. Advanced analytics don't like him. Numbers don't like him. But he's someone who's going to leave his heart on the court at all times. But that's all I got for you guys today. Like I said, probably wasn't going to be a super long episode because it's a little late and I'm still going to edit this. But like I say every episode, if you made it this far, I truly appreciate you. You are a real one. Let me know. This episode was a lot of fun, actually, because I put out on my Instagram stories what topics that you guys would like me to cover, and LaMelo Ball popped up there and some MVP talk popped up on there. So that's why I added those. And that's why that was most of the conversation for this week. If you're listening to Apple Podcasts, 5-star review, much appreciated. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a like and let me know what you want to hear me talk about next week. Definitely appreciate you all for watching. I am stumbling over my words on this outro. So I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. Thanks so much for watching. I'm out. Peace.